Hi, folks, and welcome to the Sioux Nation Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Jake Geis. Joining me today on the show is Suzy Geppert, Executive Director of the South Dakota Beef Industry Council. Suzy is responsible for the management of staff, producer communications, and oversight of all checkoff programs, activities, and functions of the South Dakota Beef Industry Council, and it's an honor to have you today on the program, Suzy.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
What are some of the events and activities that the South Dakota Beef Industry Council supports throughout the year?
You know, we have a lot of things that we continue to support. You know, our big events are always like the Black Hills Stock Show, the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally, the Sanford International PGA Tournament, multiple youth events, as well as the Build Your Base program has become just massive for South Dakota Beef. We co-wrote that program with the Sanford Sports Science Institute, and that program is actually going national this year, so that keeps us pretty busy as well.
Well, this Build Your Base program sounds really interesting, and it sounds to me like it has the potential to be very influential. So could you tell me a little bit more about how it started and where it's going?
No, this Build Your Base program has already been influential. You know, this is a sports nutrition and training program that utilizes beef as that premier protein, and we wrote it alongside Sanford here probably going on 4 years ago now and piloted it here in South Dakota. And when you think about where that program has went in that 3-year time span, it kind of blows your mind. And so this past summer, it was at the U.S. Olympic Track and Field Trials, and it was the only program showcased there. And we've got Olympians that are endorsing it, as well as a lot of other professional athletes now. When I look at that program as it goes national, you know, it makes you feel kind of good to know that, you know, we wrote it here in South Dakota and it started here. And now this thing is expanding all across the United States, as well as just, you know, within our state even more. We started with 10 school districts and we're up to 51. And we have it in 4 universities across the state. You know, SDSU, USD, Black Hills State, and Augustana are all using this program, as well as the Sioux Falls Storm took it and made it its nutritional program for their athletes. So it's having a lot of success and we're pretty proud of it.
That's super cool. It sounds like something that we might hear more about in the future on a bigger level.
I think you absolutely will. You know, it's rolling out in New York and Pennsylvania and Texas and Oklahoma and, you know, all of these other states. And the more we can get it to roll out, it just makes that footprint that much bigger for beef.
And South Dakota, go South Dakota.
Yeah, exactly. Go South Dakota.
So, you know, a lot of different ways that you, as the Beef Industry Council, are involved in helping to promote beef. Now, if people like what they're hearing and think, man, this would be something I'd like to help with, how can they get involved in helping with that?
One of the things we always like to encourage people to do is really come to our meetings. We have these quarterly, and it's a really good way to learn and discover what South Dakota Beef is doing, as well as where their checkoff dollars going. And once they come to those meetings, you know, they can also feel free to come up and say, hey, we'd like to be involved, or, you know, if you are attending this event or that event, is there a way for us to volunteer? And there absolutely is. You know, we're always looking for help, and as we grow and expand the message, it takes more people. So they can give me a call at the office or just, you know, walk up to me and sit down and have a chat.
Okay, well, that's really cool. You know, in particular, if you're a livestock producer, beef cattle producer, what would being involved in the council really mean to you on a personal level that, you know, might inspire you to be more apt to become involved?
I think for me, you know, my husband and I are involved in it as well as work in the industry. And I think for me, seeing what we're doing and especially this Build Your Base program, watching it really intersect and work with those young athletes all the way up to our older generational athletes, and then putting it into the family and into that retail segment through the retail toolkits. I think it's a really nice, comprehensive program that, for me, you know, that's what I want to see. I want to see the impact of my dollar. I want to see where it's going and how it's spent. And I think we really try to consider that in all the programs and all the outreach that we do here. You know, not only are we putting that product out front, but we want to make sure that when we put it out front, we're providing opportunities to where that consumer feels confident in selecting our product and choosing it when they go into the grocery store, when they go into that restaurant. And so when we can provide opportunities to do that, it just makes that dollar that much more efficient.
It really is a good way to see how things have expanded more than just a beef is what's for dinner tagline at the end of a commercial, isn't it?
Well, I think, you know, that beef it's what's for dinner tagline is so important because it's just kind of that staple tagline that everybody recognizes. But, you know, beyond that, it does so much more, whether it is through an educational platform like Build Your Base or all the way to research is so important for our industry because that's what protects us. When we can have that as our shield of protection to where it can debunk some of that misinformation that comes along, this checkoff just goes a lot of different directions, and it's, really large in its size and scope.
And really, when you think about it, something that's this large in size and scope, it takes a lot of people who are involved. So who is on the council for South Dakota?
So, we have 24 board members that sit on the council, and of those 24, they come from our 8 partner organizations. And those organizations would be the South Dakota Beef Breeds Council, South Dakota Livestock Auction Markets, South Dakota Cattlemen's, South Dakota Cattlemen's Auxiliary, the South Dakota Stock Growers, South Dakota Farm Bureau, South Dakota Farmers Union, and the South Dakota Cattle Women. So it really covers a large, part of our industry.
Yeah, it's pretty much the breadth of most everybody involved. And that's really cool that everybody's got a seat at the table.
It is, and that's really important. And the one thing that I always like about our board, it's really large, but each organization only carries one vote. So when they have to sit down and come up with their decisions, they have to caucus and they have to agree to their vote. And I think that's always good because it creates more conversation. And when you have more conversation, you feel a lot stronger about the decisions that are made.
Since one of the big things that you spoke to was being able to debunk information or just being able to share with people all the different nuances of the beef industry, what are some of the common and possibly uncommon beef industry facts that you like to throw out there for folks to hear?
One of the biggest things that we always hear from people that don't understand is that, our cattle are raised on these factory farms. We're always debunking that information because we know the large majority of our farms are family owned and operated. Another one, that we're really hearing a lot about right now is the sustainability stuff. We look at the research that's been gathered over the years within our industry, and that's really helping us right now because it's coming into play and we can use that and really help debunk some of that misinformation as well.
What would be kind of the most out there fun beef fact that you think you would like to share with the listening audience?
One of the things that always makes people go, really, is probably the fact that our beef animals outnumber our state residents by about 4.5 to 1. And that's always kind of an interesting fact, that they get into.
Yeah, there sure are a lot more cattle than there are people in the great state of South Dakota.
We set with about 4 million head in our state, and so it's just kind of a neat fact to share.
Yeah, no, that is a fun one. Well, Suzy, thank you very much for taking the time to stop by the podcast and let our listening audience learn a little bit more about the South Dakota Beef Industry Council.
Well, thanks for having me, and call anytime.
All right, and thank you to our listening audience. Y'all take care, folks.